like to call a meeting to order. This is the Wednesday, August 12th, Lowell Conservation Commission meeting. Order of business, we have a notice of intent by the Markley Group, LLC, concerning DEP file number 206-745. Project location is 2 Prince Avenue. It's a redevelopment of the property for a data center with associated restoration of portions of the previously developed riverfront and wetland buffer. Some of us were just recently treated to a tour of this property, so it's fresh in our mind.
Stantec Consulting. Teo Kindermans is here with me. Forgive the technical difficulties with our easel here. So essentially, this project is for work associated with the redevelopment of the site at 2 Prince Ave in Lowell into the Markley Data Center. The work within areas subject to the jurisdiction of the Commission, as noted, is the 100-foot buffer zone of bank associated with River Meadow Brook and also the 25-foot previously developed riverfront area. So the project is actually going to result in improvements to the resource areas, as some of the commissioners just learned on our site walk here. But essentially, the site is almost entirely developed with the existing several buildings there. I need to see this a little bit myself. And also very large paved parking areas. So you can see basically the western portion of the site here with existing parking that ranges up to about 20 feet away from the edge of the river here. And then also the pavement comes within just a few feet as it moves toward the center of the site. And then this is just moving to the east here where you can see some of the existing buildings. And again, more pavement over in this area. So the next one here basically gives a sense of what that's going to be turned into. Thank you very much. Where basically the bank of the river here is shown in blue, the 25-foot riverfront area is shown in orange, and then the 100-foot buffer zone is shown in yellow. And essentially, there's going to be a substantial removement of pavement associated with the parking areas and also some of the building that's over in this area here. And that area is going to be replanted, and a portion of it is going to be turned into a rain garden, and basically the parking area is going to be shifted away from the river area there. On the eastern side of the site, there's going to be another large area of pavement that's removed, and rather than being revegetated, most of this area is going to be, there's going to be stone that's placed there as pads for some generators that are going to be located in this area here. So the site, if you're able to refer to the figures that were provided in the notice of intent, is not located in areas mapped by natural heritage as estimated our priority habitats. And if you took a look at figure 2, you can see that a portion of the site just basically here is within bordering land subject to flooding associated with River Meadow Brook. That's the 100-year flood zone. So the next figure, if I could get the one in front there, Teo. This figure, as some of the other commissioners saw during our site walk, illustrates some of the major changes that are going to be happening as far as the removal of pavement and revegetation of the riverfront area and buffer zone. So again, we've got the bank in blue, riverfront area orange, and on the 100-foot buffer zone in yellow. So the areas that we're showing here in green, this large area here, represents pavement that's going to be removed and replanted. So currently, within the area that is vegetated, it's a pretty disturbed site anyway. There's some previous landscaping that was remnant for the old facility, and a lot of the vegetation there is overgrown with invasive species. As the other commissioners saw, there's a lot of oriental bittersweet there, multiflora rose, and catalpa are the 3 big invasives there. So the plan, in addition to removing the pavement here, is going to be selectively cutting out some of that invasive material, and then as you can see from the planting plan, really densely planting this entire area with native plantings. Overall, the work is going to result in a total removement of pavement of 5,222 square feet within the riverfront area, and a removement of pavement of 33,371 feet within the buffer zone. So of that, within riverfront area, 866 feet will be going from impervious pavement to vegetated planted areas. And within the buffer zone, we're going to be going from, we're going to have an increase of 12,834 square feet from paved areas to pervious planted areas. So in addition to the removal of pavement and the addition of the vegetation, that's going to increase the buffer from developed areas to the river, which is going to definitely provide some improvements to the resource area. Other improvements will include stormwater management improvements. Currently, stormwater from the site is captured by a few catch basins within the parking lot and directed to, there's an old sort of remnant catch basin or detention basin here, which is basically grown up with trees. A portion of that is going to be rehabbed, basically, and turned into this rain garden, so it's going to be vegetated, and a lot of the stormwater is going to be fed to that area as an overflow. But before it gets to there, a good portion of the site, including most of what's caught from the roofs of the buildings, is that correct, is going to be directed to underground systems that will retain and infiltrate a good portion of the stormwater. So it's going to be reducing the stormwater that's directly discharged from areas of pavement and the rooftop that currently either go directly out of an outfall directly to the river or flow via, there are a couple of asphalt spillways where water flows off of the paved parking right directly into the river, and the rest of it goes into this detention area here. So there's that improvement to stormwater. That's essentially the gist of the improvements here. Other things that are going to need to happen as part of the project, the fence line that essentially runs along the top of the bank here, which is constituted by a masonry wall, is in bad shape in a few areas, and it's going to need to be replaced. So there will be a new replaced perimeter fence around the wall, around the site there. There are a couple of trees that are growing out of the masonry retaining wall that constitute the bank there. Those are going to need to be taken down. Other than that, it's essentially what I've said so far. There's going to be an addition of planted strip along this area where none exists. There are a few trees in this area that kind of dot the edge, but it's essentially goes from pavement, curb, down into the river, so there's going to be an increase in the vegetated strip there as well. Dave, would you like to add anything? That's essentially it. I should mention that as far as the performance standards that apply, previously developed riverfront area and bordering land subject to flooding both apply to this project, and we're able to meet all of the performance standards for those. I can walk through those if you'd like me to, or if you've had a chance to review the NOI, you might be familiar with that.
Thank you. In our site walk just recently, and as I was looking over the plans, you have a symbol for existing trees, but I didn't see that symbol used on your plan. So what I would suggest is that the existing trees that you are planning to save might be best illustrated as that on your plan before construction begins, perhaps identifying by species which trees they are. And these were ones that we had pointed to on our site walk just now. They're fairly large trees, and I'm also a little fond of the oaks up on I know that's out of our jurisdiction, but the large oaks up on the slope, I fear for them unless they're put on the plan as something to save. Yep. There was quite a large pear tree. I have like a 300-year-old pear in my yard, and this tree was probably at least a third of that age. So, and then the magnolia that you identified for me, and there was a large willow, which I think is good for soaking up water at least in that area. I think one of the notes that we got on our set of suggestions from DPD was something about stockpiling. Areas for stockpiling materials. Let me just get that. If those could be relocated outside the 100-foot buffer, that was one suggestion from the planning department. Or if that's impossible, perhaps they could be covered or circled with erosion control material if they're going to stay there for any length of time. If it's just something that's going to be there for a day or two, I wouldn't be concerned, but where you do have those 2 breaks in the wall where things do wash down that way, until those are dealt with, I think that the stockpiles need to be controlled a little. We haven't, you probably saw these comments as well, something about the fence. You had said the fence might be relocated. I would just be concerned that the wall retain its integrity with the installation of the new fence, as I'm sure you're concerned for the same thing, so.
Certainly.
A walkway along the rain garden. I don't know if this rain garden would be something that people would be tempted to walk through, and perhaps a walkway would prevent them from doing that. Or I'm assuming it would be a concern that they'd be on their way to that passive area to the west and perhaps walking through the rain garden. I'm not really sure what that comment from the
I can address that one. I believe we had received an email from Joe, is it Ginovich?
The planning board, yeah.
He had indicated that, I believe on a previous set of plans that had gone for site plan review with the planning board, we were showing a trail, a paved walkway that went around the outside of this. When this came time to start thinking about permitting this, and we reviewed as far as within the riverfront area, that the paved trail was within the riverfront area, so we decided that it would be best to eliminate that. As far as, so that's why it's not shown in the plans here, it's no longer proposed. As far as people walking around this area, through this area, I believe that the intent is to plant it so thickly that it's not going to be very easy to navigate through. And as far as the rain garden, perhaps Teo can speak more to this, but it's going to be graded slightly, so there will be a little bit of relief, and down within the rain garden there will be some amount of stone and some amount of plantings that'll be in there, so it's not going to lend itself really to walking around through that area.
Is that something that you're going to be submitting a plan for, the rain garden area, or a more specific plan, or?
I mean, as far as the submission to the Concom, that was not proposed.
As far as construction or plantings or whatever?
We did submit in the NOI set, there's a planting plan that goes along that shows what's proposed there.
Okay.
I'm not sure if there's a detail that.
I was overwhelmed with your plans. Maybe I missed that.
They're thorough. Can you pull up the planting plan there?
Do you know if it's 401 or 402?
What's that?
Do you know if it's 401 or 402?
Which sheet it is?
Actually, I think it's 401. Yeah. Watch out, Bill.
So yeah, you can see, I misspoke earlier as far as there being stone within the rain garden. You can see on the planting plan, sheet 2L401.
I've got it now.
The proposed plantings that are mainly around the perimeter are all called out here and identified and are all native species. And then the interior of the rain gardens are proposed to be herbaceous grasses or something else native that would be low growing and wouldn't,
Okay, I did see this.
yeah.
See, and I think these, see these ones that have circles?
Yeah.
Are those maybe existing that are being kept? Like circle, circle, circle?
It's supposed to be a dashed line for the ones that are kept, and I didn't see any of those on the plan.
Now, could you maybe just note out on this plan, maybe could you maybe even call it with leaders and just say, this is this, and we're gonna keep it?
As far as which?
The plan is to keep some trees, right, existing?
The plan is definitely to do selective cutting there, and our goal would be to keep as many, if not all, of the native trees that would be growing in there. So the ones that were identified when you spoke, the goal would be to keep those. Some amount of pruning may be required, but really when we were out there, as you may have noticed, there's a fair amount of kind of open understory areas where there's canopy that's growing from the wall or even across the river in some cases. So that will be, the things that are growing out of the wall will be eliminated. That will open up some of the canopy. Some of the catalpas there, which were the ones with the bean pods there, are invasive and will be removed and replanted with natives. And then essentially the entire shrub layer is all non-native. It's multiflora rose, honeysuckle, things like that. So just by removing those and the amount of bittersweet that's growing up through the canopy, that's going to open up quite a bit of light to the area and allow for most of the planting that needs to happen. So I think we were in agreement that flagging the trees that would be saved, which again, we'd be shooting for saving all the native mature trees.
And you have quite a few fallen trees down around the curve that are going to be difficult to remove, but they may still be alive, but they're horizontal or whatever, leaning on the fence and,
You're talking about down in this area
yeah.
here? I would imagine that, any of the trees that are actually leaning on the fence
Yeah.
would probably have to be cut. Again, that whole
Definitely,
strip there,
yeah.
within the property, there's going to be a strip of trees added to that area, so that will likely
Okay.
compensate for anything. As far as anything that's down and just laying down dead trees, I would imagine an excavator with a thumb could just pluck those out of there pretty easily.
what size are most of the trees that you propose going to be initially?
Is that shown on the, here, I'll let you navigate to that.
For the record, Theo Kinnemans with Stantec. We actually are proposing a variety of heights in the understory just to make it a little bit more varied. I know the smallest would be 6 to 7 feet in the evergreens, and it goes up from there. I know some of them are over 12.
So pretty decent caliper thickness.
Right. We want to have a dense screen from day one, pretty much, and and we want to have it a bit varied looking, not as a wall. So that's why we have some variations in there.
Instant forest.
Just a thought, instead of, picking up on the theme of trees and selective saving versus removal, rather than resubmitting a figure, one thing I think we could do, maybe Swathi, is if we were to approve this project and issue a standard Lowell order of conditions as a special condition, do a site walk with the applicant, just confirm that we're all in agreement which trees are marked off for saving versus which ones are removed. I think that could probably be done in 15 minutes, just walking along the perimeter where the work is going to be done.
I think that would be an excellent idea.
The other thing that I was looking for was a construction sequence, and I notice you have included that in your notice of intent.
Yeah, the sequence that we list in the notice of intent, as we essentially do in all notice of intent, is sort of a broad brush. It's left up to the contractor as far as what is going to be the most logical approach. But it always starts with the installation of erosion controls to the satisfaction of the commission and ends with them being removed at the authorization of the commission. So making sure that the resource areas are protected is the first thing. And as far as exactly what's going to happen after that. This is, I think, a reasonable idea of how that would go.
Yeah, I would just be concerned that the erosion control doesn't remain removed for too long a period of time, especially if stormy weather's predicted. I know you'll have to probably move back those hay bales to work on the fence or work on the wall or whatever,
Yep.
or maybe even to take the trees down.
And again, I think, I mean, with the way that the site, it's been very proactive, the contractor's been very proactive thus far as establishing that barrier. Imagine the intent would be to remove them and then replace them immediately after whatever work was necessary. And again, that can be a special condition if that would be desirable to the commission.
Okay. Bill, anything else?
I guess just to confirm, and I think we, again, discussed this when we were walking the site earlier, there were about 2 or 3 outfall areas that are somewhat unstable, whether the wall gets replaced in those areas or riprap to stabilize. I don't want to be prescriptive, but I mean, just want to be clear that those are going to be stabilized and addressed, as part of the work out there, so we don't have further erosion with those stormwater outfalls are. It was like 2 or 3 of them.
I believe tentatively the plan is to do what we had discussed out there, would be to armor them with riprap and just make sure, I mean, I think that it's probably more storm-related, stream flow-related, that there's scour to that site rather than flow coming down and eroding, since it's mostly paved, but that would be the idea, would be to armor that and protect it from further erosion.
And again, I would say that I think that could be addressed as a special condition in order, City of Lowell order of conditions if the project were to be approved. Right.
We could have a drawing or something of your, whatever plan you decide on those 2 locations submitted, perhaps, to keep with our plans.
Submitted prior to the work being completed, yep.
Right.
Other than that, I guess just to confirm in terms of the scope of the project, significant impervious pavement removal. I think you mentioned also, so I guess in terms of impervious pavement removal, maybe about 3/4 of an acre, somewhere around 30,000 square feet, somewhere in that neighborhood.
That's about right.
Flood storage, I think the project's going to have a net gain of about 800 cubic feet of flood storage, somewhere in that vicinity.
Just over, yep.
And with regard to stormwater management, since this is a significant redevelopment, just so I'm clear, because I'm a little rusty on this, in terms of TSS removal, and it's removal pre and post the stormwater report. I mean, what's the removal efficiency now in terms of suspended solids versus what's out there now, which I think is probably nothing?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, as far as the system, I can't speak to the details of it, but essentially there's a lot of direct sheet flowing to the river, so there's
Currently.
absolutely no treatment now, and there will be a significant improvement through the Coltex.
The intent is to predominantly, for a large portion of the site, to infiltrate versus then having sheet flow into the creek itself, correct?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. I have nothing further. Thanks.
Okay.
No comments?
Right.
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
No, not yet. If there's no more questions from the commission, we'll open the public hearing to the public. Is there anyone here that would like to speak for or against this project? This is 2 Prince Avenue redevelopment. Anyone want to speak for or against the project? Seeing no speakers, we now can close
I'll
the
make a
public hearing.
motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the public hearing is closed. I think we have several special conditions here that we need to add in, but
Well, I'll give it a shot to start it, and if I miss a special condition, people can feel free to add in, but I'll start by offering a motion to issue a City of Lowell standard order of conditions, along with 2 special conditions that I'm aware of. One would be to mark the trees for saving prior to commencement of work. Second would be to provide a schematic. I don't think we have to have a detailed engineering plan, but some sort of schematic to detail somewhat what the plan is to stabilize those 2 or 3 outfall areas that are currently, in disrepair. Are there any others?
Another one, that we're aware that the erosion control may be moved to accommodate the construction, but that it should always be like working.
Any others?
Was there a walkthrough clause too, that you want to do a walkthrough afterwards,
Say that?
That'll be at the end.
at the end afterwards? Okay.
I think we agreed on the any stockpiles being either located outside the buffer zone or contained by a covering or surrounding with erosion control material.
So that would be before you get all those, Swathi? Okay, so that's the motion.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded with 4 special conditions. Any discussion? We'll have a vote then. Jeff, all those in favor? Brian?
Aye.
And-
Aye.
Okay. Motion
Project
passes, and
Thank
thank
you.
you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. I do need to sign in here.
What's that?
Do I need to sign in here
Sure.
Yep.
for fun? Thank you. Thank you.
You got it? This is next, right?
Yeah, wait for swapping. Next on our agenda is a notice of intent from Boot Hydropower, DEP file number 206-746. The project location is 706 Broadway over the Pawtucket Canal. It's replacement of the Broadway Street Bridge. Hello.
Hello, Madam Chair, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Jody Trumfio with TEC. I'm accompanied this evening by one of our project engineers, Peter Ellison, here to present this bridge replacement project. It's a long overdue project. We've been involved working on the canal bridges in Lowell on behalf of our client, Enel Green Power North America, for nearly 8 years now. And in various capacities, we've done maintenance work, inspection work, load ratings, and now, in particular with this bridge, as many of you know the condition that it's in today, it's time to replace it. So the filing that we've done is to demonstrate the complete reconstruction of this bridge. I'm not sure how to advance. There we go. Just as a highlight of the team members associated, as I mentioned, we are the design consultants, TEC, and our client, the owner of the bridge, is Boot Hydropower, a subsidiary of Enel Green Power North America. This project involves a lot of entities, various stakeholders. The bridge itself, in the state that it's in right now, causes problems for various people, including the city of Lowell, the residents of Lowell, the buses, the businesses, the universities, National Park Service. We've participated in monthly meetings with all these various stakeholders to keep them apprised of the progress that we've been making and the intent of the work that's to be completed. This is a brief outline of our project. We're going to first discuss the existing conditions of the bridge, talk a little bit more about what we're proposing to do, discuss the resource area, the temporary resource area impacts associated with this project, and how we would protect those resource areas. So first, a review of the existing conditions. I have a few photos here. Anyone that has driven over this bridge knows that the rideability, the roadway surface is quite a challenge, traversing over roadway plates and very distressed pavement. For those of you that don't get the opportunity to see what the bridge looks like from underneath, here's a photo taken from the Francis Gatehouse. You can see that the existing bridge, it's a single-span 4 steel trusses. The 2 outside trusses are beyond repair. We had made the recommendation last year to prevent traffic from traveling over those 2 outside trusses. That's why there's 1 lane of traffic traveling westbound on Broadway today. The north sidewalk has been closed to pedestrians for quite some time, and most recently has collapsed in a section and requiring an emergency repair to support the water line that you see in the photo attached. What are we doing? What are we doing to fix all of this? We see this project as a limited project in accordance with the Wetland Protection Act, as a bridge maintenance project where the footprint of the bridge is not being widened. Here is a schematic showing the proposed bridge replacement. Currently, the existing bridge sits and is supported by the historic canal walls. We are removing the bridge from the canal walls, keeping the canal walls as a historic element, preserving those walls, and actually spanning over the canal walls and founding the new bridge on a deep pile-supported foundation system. This technique was done similarly as part of the Hamilton Canal District project, the new access bridge that services the Hamilton Canal on Canal Street. We were before the Historic Board this past Monday to review some of the aesthetics and the architectural treatments and whatnot that would become part of this project, including maintaining the exterior ornamental railings and providing colors and natural stone that would replicate what's out there today. Here's a cross-section of the bridge kind of showing the new structure type. It's going to be a reinforced concrete deck supported on steel girders. The steel girders will be painted, and we're working with the Historic Board right now to identify what the color would be for the steel. So just as almost a before and after, this is the existing elevation of the bridge today, and the proposed structure will look something like this. It is, as I mentioned, a single span. It will have the appearance that it will actually look like it will be sitting on the existing canal walls, but in reality, it will span about 15 feet beyond the canal walls and sit on its own independent foundation. The type of barrier system and ornamental railing, we've used this throughout the city on numerous projects over the past several years. In order to keep the exterior ornamental railing, We need to provide some means of crash protection, and that's that interior vehicle barrier that you see in the photo. It's an AASHTO BR2 railing for the technical term. But again, it allows, it provides the safety to pedestrians by having an interior vehicular barrier and maintaining the aesthetic on the outside. So this is a detail that we've used quite a bit and received acknowledgement from the Historic Board for this detail, being able to use or maintain the Lucy Larkham railing on the outside. As it relates to stormwater, the bridge, we're not widening, we are making it a little bit longer, but there's no net increase in impervious area. The existing bridge today, there's 4 catch basins just on the outside of the existing canal walls. They're not deep sumps. They're tied together in direct discharge into the canal right there on the south side of the bridge. We are proposing to install, because we're actually lengthening the bridge, those catch basins are in the way now and have to be relocated, reconstructed, and removed with new deep sump catch basins. So as a limited project, that's a modest improvement to stormwater treatment that we can do as part of the project. And then the last one being that there's no permanent alteration to the bank or the bordering land subject to flooding. There are some temporary impacts that we'll talk about in just a sec. So the resource area impacts, as I mentioned, there's the bank, the tops of the canal walls that will be modified as part of the construction, and then the adjacent land on either side that is considered bordering land subject to flooding per the FEMA firm maps. This colored graphic represents the proposed work. In order to demolish the bridge in its entirety, the bridge carries several utilities, and we would need to construct a temporary utility bridge to the north of the bridge, and that's highlighted by that black rectangle that's to the north of the bridge. So that work would require some temporary alteration to that area to construct that temporary bridge. Once those utilities are relocated, the road would be shut down and the bridge would be completely demolished and reconstructed. The graphic shows how the certain techniques would be implemented, including standard erosion control techniques at each of the 4 quadrants, an installation of a sediment boom that could be placed in the canal but would need to be coordinated with the Park Service boat tours for daily removal to allow for that the boat tours to still occur during construction activities that would allow those boat tours to continue. How we would propose to protect the resource area, the canal, and the bank associated with it. Here's another photo of the Francis Gatehouse and the historic canal walls that will be replicated. They will be temporarily removed and reconstructed to replicate that exactly. I have a very detailed special provision for the reconstruction of those walls that we reviewed with the Historic Board this past Monday evening. But essentially, anywhere along the tops of the banks, we would propose to have erosion control measures to prevent any of the construction debris or any sediment from entering into the canal. Just a sample photo. Here's a sample of a compost filter tube that would be used at the toe of slope to protect the resource area. Something similar would be used on this project. Other methods of resource area protection. When we demolish the deck, there can be shielding that can be installed to the underside of the bridge that would trap any debris here. This is at Central Street over the Pawtucket Canal, where timber shielding was used to allow for the demolition of the concrete deck. Tarps, containment tarps can be used. We're thinking that this would be a good technique to wrap the existing trusses with in order to prevent any construction debris from entering into the canal, or potentially dropping on any of the people participating in boat tours. Work floats. As the trusses are demolished at the face of canal walls, work floats would be placed against the sides of the canals and used to prevent any of that material from entering into the canal. And lastly, just a floating silt fence that we mentioned before can be placed on the downstream side of the canal. If the canal flows are not too high, this would be a good technique to trap any of the floating sediment. And as I mentioned, would need to be coordinated with the Park Service to allow for their boat tours to continue. Lastly, showing a picture of silt sacks that we can put on the outsides of the project. The 4 existing catch basins that are within the project limits will eventually be removed, but nevertheless still another stormwater management and erosion control technique that we could use for the project. So that, in summary, kind of gives you an idea of the condition that the bridge is in, what we're planning to do in terms of replacing it, and how we plan to protect the canal in order to complete the work. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer at this time.
Thank you. How long will this project take? How long will the bridge be missing?
In order for the work to occur, the first step would be to relocate the utilities. So the owner is interested in trying to relocate the utilities on the temporary utility bridge this fall. Because we're lengthening the bridge and it's extending over the canal walls, we're actually obstructing access to S&R Corporation, their construction driveway. So we have to build a temporary access road through the back of their property to tie to School Street. That is also going to occur this year. And the reason why we're trying to take care of those 2 activities this year is it would afford the contractor the full construction season next year to demolish and replace the bridge. Currently, the construction schedule is for the bridge replacement is to start spring of 2016 and end before the end of the calendar year.
So the one-way bridge will remain in use until next spring?
Correct. Correct. And we are providing a detour for the roadway closure, which is similar to what the eastbound traffic is dealing with today, where they would detour via Walker Street. I think it's now up to Middlesex Street. It was originally a Peavy Street, but it got shifted, and back down School Street. So now both directions of travel will follow that detour route. So it's just the one block around the bridge.
Well, this looks like a very good idea. I don't think I have any questions right now. Bill?
Not specific to this project, but I'm just curious. I mean, what's the backlog? How many more of these? I mean, I don't know to what extent you can comment on that.
Yeah.
But I think, for example, the bridge that's near the new University Ave bridge, near the university, that's probably just as bad a condition. Are there any plans, is there a long-term plan to kind of replace these? Because obviously, I think the approach is going to be the same. I see some figures that look pretty similar to the earlier projects. I'm just curious.
Yes, so the owner has a capital improvement plan, and there's also an interesting partnership that's going on right now where the city has applied for a grant to receive funding to do work on that bridge in particular. So I think it was last month or the month before where City Council had approved to accept ownership of these bridges pending a receipt of that grant. So in which case there would be quite a lot of activity in the future in terms of replacing some of these bridges.
So at least the good news is that while it might be a long term, I think the approach to dealing with these bridges is, I'm guessing, is going to be fairly consistent.
Yes, and my client has a capital improvement plan that's outlined for how prioritizing these projects should the city not receive the grant. That would ultimately result in NL maintaining ownership of these bridges and continuing to maintain these bridges.
All right, well, thanks. Let's hope that grant gets approved.
I have no questions. This isn't your first rodeo, so you got it pretty covered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff? Brian? No questions? Okay, this was a very thorough filing, so I think that's why we have no questions.
Thank you.
And nice presentation, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak on this proposal, either for or against? Would you please step up and introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Martha Waddell. I live at Madonna Circle, which is the Francis Gatehouse condominiums right adjacent to Broadway. And I'm kind of confused here because about 5 or 6 years ago, I was told that this bridge was being planned to be fixed. And then it's been 1.5 years that the road has been one way. I was told 1.5 years ago that the bridge construction was going to be this year. Obviously, it's not happening. So the neighbors are putting up with, basically, you're telling me 2.5 years of a one-way bridge, okay? And then next spring, it's gonna start, and so I assume that's gonna take the whole summer to do that. This is a major inconvenience for the community, and it's a big safety hazard because it's one way. So like when I leave, I take a right and go that way, but when I come home, I've got to go all the way around over that other bridge you're talking about that's in worse shape, and it's been forever and has not been fixed. And people drive the opposite way. They come across I pulled out of Madonna, and I'm looking this way because traffic's coming, and I turn around and I get almost hit by a car that's coming over the bridge. We're constantly having to call the cops and tell them to get out there and give people tickets. And so now I'm finding out that I was lied to 1 year ago, that the bridge was not going to be completed this year, that it's going to be next year, and that we've also got other bridges that this company seems to be very much dragging their feet on getting fixed. Now, I understand it takes a lot of planning, but I was told in 2009 that they were working on plans to replace this bridge. So I'm kind of confused as far as why this is taking so long. I mean, I can understand a company doesn't want to spend any more money than they have to. Okay, that's a given. But my concern is that this needs to be done as fast as possible. You know, I understand, okay, you've got utilities, you've got to move. I don't understand maybe why you can't start on the bridge and do the utilities at the same time. Once the bridge is shut down, the safety hazard is going to be gone. I'm not going to have to worry about being run over by cars going in the opposite direction. But, so, I mean, I'm really glad that you've had this meeting. It's been very educational. I thank you very much for all the information. It's been very, very helpful. But my main concern for the community is we've got to put up with the traffic hazard for another year, is what you're telling me?
Yeah.
That's really, I don't see how that can be acceptable. I mean, they say it's 8 years this thing's been worked on, and now you're just doing it. And as far as a member of the community, I think it's just, you know, too little too late. This should have been done 1 year ago. And so I'm with the Francis Gatehouse Condominium Association. I'm one of the board members, so I will be going back and telling them about what's going on. So if I could get a copy of your proposal, your little, you know, something, so that I could take and explain it to them, I'd really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think the good news is probably that it's going to be a completely
We'll see.
rebuilt bridge, where I've seen plans on some of these bridges that were just patches.
Well, see, part of the problem too is the detour signs. They're crap, no offense, okay? You come up on the four-way stop. You can go left or you can go right. You go right, you go down Pawtucket, and you get stuck in a traffic jam. And I'm going over another bridge that's in bad shape.
Yeah.
You go the back way, you come out on School Street. You're right there where the school buses turn in and park, and it's on a hill. So you're having, it's not really safe.
Yeah, I
The
think
way they've
this
got the
is-
detour. And so I would suggest that better signs,
Yeah,
And
this is
maybe-
probably something that could be taken up with the city. Is
Well, I can think-
I've gotten caught in the trap of the bridge myself because the signs weren't really
well, what
enough
happens
to
if people
discourage you from
if
going
people
down.
go take a right at the stop sign and,
Yeah.
then make a left where, like, I don't even know the name of the road.
I-
That's that back road where the school buses.
I think
place
it,
If they maybe did it out to Middlesex, where it's kept the people on a main drag.
Yeah, we're not in charge though of the
But,
detail.
well, what I'm saying
Yeah.
is,
I think probably that concern should be
To
brought
Public
up to
Works?
maybe the
Swapping.
police department or,
Okay, I can-
especially with the students coming back very soon.
yeah, that's
so,
a big concern too.
Yeah,
Swapping ones.
we
You know,
we
but-
don't have control over the traffic on this board.
You know, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of problems that we put up with for a year and a half.
Yeah,
And now
well-
you're telling me it's going to be another year,
But
so
look-
obviously, we're not going to be happy campers.
Eyes on the prize, I think. I think this will be
know,
a beautiful
but there's-
project when it's done.
you know,
I think
but
Swappy
yeah.
from the city has something to say.
Yeah.
Thank you, Caitlin. If I may suggest, I understand this is the only public hearing you had where you could come and express your concerns, and those are clearly very valid concerns. However, the jurisdiction of the commission is relative to what's being proposed for the replacement. However, I do recommend that you get in touch with the engineering office and also the transportation engineer, who will be largely involved in the detour, the routes,
Right.
and stuff like that. And it will be helpful to actually hear from the community to understand what will be the easiest, or the most convenient thing for not just the people who pass through, but for the people who are actually living in that area. So I strongly suggest that, if you want to stop by my office tomorrow, you have my email address.
Okay.
If you can send me something, I'll be gladly forwarding that to them.
That would be great.
Okay.
Again, yeah, I know you do the environmental stuff, and so I think you've done a great job as far as addressing all of the issues with that. And so on the environmental aspect, I think it's a good plan.
And
I
as far
like
as
that.
the schedule goes, the city.
Except for the schedule. It's,
Budgets happen, money happens, who knows why it got
know.
pushed off than what you first heard. So you might also have an answer to go back to the association with.
okay.
Yeah, there might
that
be a
would
reason
great.
why it got pushed back a year.
Yeah, well,
As
it's
far as
just-
we don't know that.
Well,
right
it
now.
just seems that it's very convenient just to leave the bridge the way it is
No,
and not do
I'm
anything.
sure if the city had or whatever, they would want to do it as soon as possible.
Well,
So
I
there-
just,
there's probably a reason.
I'm really glad to see it's being done.
Just to add to that, I'm just curious if I could ask the applicant, I mean, we already have a design you've got a design that's ready to go. It's 100% design that's ready to go out to bid for a contract to do construction once the project's approved, correct?
Correct.
So there's no more design process. It's now a matter of hiring a contractor. But my guess is you can't go ahead and go hire a contractor. You have the approval and permit in hand to go do that.
Correct.
So-
Anything that comes out of this hearing in the form of special conditions or an order of conditions would be part of the
Right.
bid documents.
Right.
So that the contractor would know what he'd be responsible for
Right.
during construction.
Right.
I will say that the owner has these plans and their procurement office is already streamlining and already starting to prepare the bid documents and for advertisement. So we're following up and getting all the permits and secured now so that we can submit those as addendum to the
Okay.
project
Oh,
specification.
so you're there, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of,
Yeah. So and that's why we're trying to give the contractor the biggest leg up next, with a full construction season, do all the work that needs to get the utilities out of the way and the temporary road constructed. So once that bridge gets demolished, SNR's driveway is obstructed. So that road needs to be constructed in order to start that work. So we don't want to start that, knock out the bridge, and then have a winter, and now you're trying to the city's trying to take care of snow removal and everything with a bridge out. It can be problematic as well.
Yeah.
thank you.
Half a bridge in the winter is better than no bridge.
Any other questions then, I guess?
Is there anyone else who would like to speak concerning this project? Hearing none, I think we can probably close the public hearing.
I'll make a
Unless
motion.
there's questions, discussion of the board.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
And I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded, close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed. I think we can entertain probably a standard order.
Yeah,
I'll make a motion to issue a City of Lowell standard order of conditions.
and I'll
We have a
second that.
Seconded by Bill. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All unanimous. And that order will go out as soon as it's ready.
Thank you all very much.
much.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you very much.
Our next order of business is a request for determination of applicability. I can't say that word. Applicability.
Got it.
The project location is 48 River Road, and it's for the installation of an above-ground pool within the wetland buffer.
My name is
Could
Peter
you
DiBernardo.
identify yourself, please?
I'm from Gibraltar Pools in Topsfield, Peter DiBernardo.
Okay. And could you just give a brief overview of the project?
Yeah, my homeowner would like to put an above-ground rectangular pool in the backyard. There's an in-ground pool next door, a lot of pools in the area. But the thing is, it's only 62 feet where the pool is going to the beginning of the slope going down to the river.
So you're along that rip-wrapped area that is containing the sewer interceptors, I believe.
That I don't know, but we're along a rip-wrapped area with a wide stone boardwalk. I don't know about the sewer.
So the yard is completely contained by a fence, I understand?
Yes.
And there's no work proposed beyond the fence?
No.
Will you be removing or bringing in materials within the wetland buffer?
Where the site of the pool is, we will be removing the sod and possibly some of the dirt underneath and replacing that with some washed mason sand for the base under the pool.
But the elevations will remain as they are presently?
The elevations will remain as they are, except that there is a slope, probably a gentle grade of 3 feet or so, where some of that will be taken out and the pool will be kind of inserted into that hill, if you will, on the high end near the house, closest to the house.
So I think I read somewhere in your application that there'd be no discharges from the pool?
Yeah, we're using a green cartridge system, so there'll be no backwashing like there would be with a traditional sand filter. So all the water will stay within the pool, a self-contained unit.
So it's a closed loop system, is that what you're
Yes.
saying? Right.
I really couldn't see any, that this was going to have too much of an effect on the resource area, especially where you've got all of that riprap and such a steep bank going down to the river.
Thank you.
You have a question, Bill?
No, I guess I would agree, and give the other board members a chance, but I'd certainly be willing to entertain it. Issue a -3 determination for this project, so the applicant proceed ahead without having to go through a notice of intent.
No comments.
Jeff? Brian? Okay, this is an RDA and there's no one here, so I guess there's no one to add comments. Any more discussion by the board?
Nope, but I'll make a motion to issue a -3 determination.
Okay, motion for a -3 determination. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Oh, seconded by,
Jeff.
seconded by Jeff. And any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, -3 means that it's not going to adversely affect the resource area. We didn't add any special conditions to that, so basically your plan as proposed will be able to be built without further hearings or paperwork for us.
Great, thanks.
Thank
They're gonna
you.
get to, are they gonna get to enjoy the pool this, what's left of the
They're
summer?
going to. They have 2 kids that, they've been calling me a lot, asking
Good,
me how it's
good.
going, so I think we're good.
Take
All
care.
right,
Thank you very much. Thanks.
We have a minor change proposed on DEP Order 206-724. This is the Meadowbrook Substation. This is putting in new poles over, off of, well, over beyond the Showcase Cinemas. I'm not sure if there's a street in there or not, but they had proposed 4 poles, I believe, and now they've moved some of them and are proposing only 3, but it's basically, I would consider this a minor change. Does anyone else have a comment on it? It's not that one. It's not this. It's over by Showcase Cinemas, high utility poles.
Oh, I know what
Yeah.
Yeah, no
that is. No
No
comment.
comment. Any concerns? Would someone like to make a motion about approving the minor order changes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minor changes to the existing order of conditions.
Okay, motion to approve the changes, seconded by
I'll second.
Bill, and any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. We do have a request here for additional activities on Cayenne Street. I don't have the DEP order number on this handy, but this is over off of School Street. Oh, okay, we found it, 206-666. This is work very close to the bridge that we were just discussing. So I think it's additional borings, is it not?
It's additional site investigation, so they're not, proposing anything that will have a temporary impact, permanent impact. And the scope of the investigative work is already, exactly what has been previously approved under an RDA and also a notice of intent.
Yeah, and the drill rig and geoprobe that they're proposing to do the work, I mean, you're talking about small diameter
It'll be like a
holes.
4-inch diameter hole, yeah.
So they had received a negative determination previously, and this is a minor change. Would someone like to make a motion to approve?
I'll offer a motion to approve the minor change as written in the applicant's letter.
I'll second.
Seconded by Brian. And no discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. This is the end of what I know to be the agenda. Is there anything else? Okay, so that
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn made and
Second.
seconded by Jeff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have a good night.
Okay, thank you.